couldn't wait till my 13th birthday, you know. I had noticed that up the street, the guys had a basketball court out in the street, and they was always laughing and joking and playing ball, and they had a good old time up the street. So on my 13th birthday, when I came out the house, I ran up the street. I think that one day changed my life forever. Because I ran up the street and those guys introduced me to marijuana. I thought marijuana was the best thing since the wheel. I went up there and they gave me a couple of joints to smoke. I smoked them couple of joints. And when I came back down the street, somebody just happened to say something about my mother. And I said, I started laughing. They said something about my sister. I said, I kept on laughing. Then somebody looked at me and called me fat boy. I looked at myself and said, damn, I am fat, ain't I? And I started laughing. And to me, that was cool because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to laugh. I was so miserable all the time, all caught up in my feelings, having my feelings hurt, that laughing just seemed good. And I didn't see nothing was wrong. I didn't see where anything was wrong with that. By the time I got 15 years old, though, the older guys in the neighborhood decided that I'd be a good candidate to sell weed in the neighborhood. So at 15 years old, I was selling marijuana in my neighborhood. Sometime around that time, they gave me a nickname. I don't know how they came up with this nickname. But they nicknamed me Big Daddy, you know. And I don't know, I'd always had a pretty vivid imagination. So when they named me Big Daddy, I became a legend in my own mind. Because things changed for me. I used to come outside every day and I used to say, you know, when I see my friends, I say, hello, good morning, how y'all doing? But after they named me Big Daddy, something changed. I started walking a little different. I started talking a little different. What's up? What's going on, babe? How you doing? See, I thought I was cool. I thought I was working on something. I wasn't cool. I was just another young fool. That's all it was. But you couldn't tell me nothing, you know. By the time I went to high school, because of a couple of things that were wrong with me. One is that I'd always had low self-esteem. Nobody ever congratulated me, encouraged me to do anything in my entire life. So I had very low self-esteem. And I was very codependent. Codependent meaning that the most important thing in the world to me was that everybody liked me. I'd actually lose sleep if people didn't like me. It bothered me just that much. So by the time I got 18 years old, by the time I went to high school, because of that, I was smoking cigarettes, smoking PCP, smoking weed, smoking hash, dropping amphetamines and barbiturates, and drinking beer, liquor, and wine. And that's before I got to high school. And I didn't see nothing was wrong with that because 80% of the people I grew up with was in one form or another, one combination or another, doing the same thing I was doing. And we didn't see nothing was wrong with that. I made it through high school, but my mother never said nothing about college to me. I never heard anything about college. She told me that when I graduated from high school, I had to get a job, and that's what I did. I got a job. I got quite lucky. I graduated from Eastern High School in the city on June the 12th, 1973. By June the 15th, I had a construction job building the metro system in the Washington metropolitan area that paid me $17.50 an hour. In 1973, $17.50 an hour, I was making big money. $17.50 ain't bad money today. Imagine what it was like back in 1973. There was a couple of problems with me making that kind of money. The biggest problem being that I didn't have any money management skills. I didn't have a bank account. I didn't have a savings. Nobody had taught me how to save, how to invest. I didn't have a clue as to the importance of a good credit rating in your life and how important it was to maintain that rating throughout your life. I didn't know none of that stuff. The streets will teach you a lot of stuff. The streets don't teach you that kind of stuff. The stuff you really need to know. You know. And besides, I was about 18 years old, and I went through that stage from age 13 to 18 with that disease that all of you had when between 13 and 18. Some of you probably still got it now, you know, because it happens to all kids. It's that disease called I know everything. You know, that disease called can't nobody tell me nothing. You know, all kids get it. You know, and if you don't have some guidance during that time, you end up something like me. 18 years old, making $17.50 out big money, and think I know every damn thing. Couldn't nobody tell me nothing. I was Big Daddy. I'ma do me. I wasn't listening to nobody. That was fine. Everything went fine. When that job came to an end, I got a job at the post office. And when I got into the post office, I still was codependent, still needed everybody to like me. And everybody did like me. I went in the post office as a mechanic helper, and I had this little scooter, and I used to scoot through the post office. Everybody used to holler, hey, Steve, you know, what's happening, you know. Steve was a fun guy. You know, I was a good guy. I was the kind of guy that you'd invite to your party. If you had a party, everybody always invited me to their parties. Because they know when I come to your party, I'm not going to just lean up against the wall. You know, when the music come, I got my little juke on, you know. I party with the best of it. You know, and one night I was at a party, you know, just having fun. I had smoked a joint, drank a beer or two, you know, just chilling. And somebody tapped me on my shoulder and said, here, Big Daddy, try this. And I said, what's that? And it was in a glass pipe. I was familiar with pipes. I've been smoking weed since I was 13 years old. But it didn't smell like weed. And I said, what is that? And they told me it was cocaine. I told them, I said, you need to get that away from me, man, because I'm not going to be putting no cocaine up my nose. And they said, you don't put this up your nose, you smoke it. I had never heard of that before in my life. I said, you smoke it. My very best thinking at that moment told me that I had been smoking cigarettes, PCP, marijuana, since I was 13 years old. That I had a good job, I had money in my pocket, I had a new car, I had clothes, my apartment was laid out, I had a beautiful girlfriend. You know, my best thinking told me that none of that would change if I just tried that to smoke that cocaine. It took me 30 seconds to try that cocaine. It took me 30 years to get off of it. 30 years. The National Coalition for the Homeless says that statistically, there's a large percentage of families in this country that's 2 or 3 paychecks away from being homeless. As true as that is, I'm here to tell each and every one of you that homelessness is just one bad decision away. That's all it takes, a bad decision. I think I'm a pretty good guy. I've always thought I was a pretty good guy. But that night, I made a bad decision. And it cost me the next 30 years of my life. It's funny about bad decisions. When you make a bad decision, you tend to follow it up with a worse decision. And a bad decision can be like a snowball rolling down. Especially when you think you know everything, when can't nobody tell you nothing. You know? The next 30 years wasn't as bad as you may think. But I guess it was bad. The next 30 years, I went through about 15 jobs. but 7 of those jobs paid me between $50,000 and $90,000 a year. That's not bad for somebody with just a high school education. So I'm not dumb. But I lost a career in the United States Air Force. I lost a career with NASA. I lost a career with the State Department. I lost a career with the Defense Department. And I lost a White House internship because of my addiction to drugs. When I lost the White House internship, I left the city. I thought that, still not knowing that the problem was me, I left the city thinking that the city was the problem. I went to Tennessee and got me a CDL Class A driver's license. And I drove big rigs around this country for the next 4 or 5 years. And that's a great job to have. I've been to every state in the union at least twice. I've seen every landmark in the country at least once. A great job. Only problem is after about 3 or 4 years, well, after the first 2 years, I had a drug deal in 40 states. Everywhere I ever went, I could find drugs. Put me in any desert and give me 1 hour, I'd have drugs in my hand. Any city, no matter how rural or how urban, it didn't take but 10 minutes for me to have drugs in my hand, which qualifies my next statement. Every one of you in this room, no matter where you're from, every one of you know where you can find drugs in your hometown. If you don't use them, you got friends that use it, you got relatives that use it, you know who's selling them, you know where to pick them up, every one of you. And if you've been here at the University of Maryland for more than 30 days, you know where the drugs are here. Because they're on every campus. Ain't nobody excluded. And you all know. So you have to make a conscious decision every day to say no. Every day you got to make that kind of decision. I need you girls to help me. You know, because y'all run everything anyway. You know, if y'all would help us out,